Fascinating, isn't it? The way our minds, so sharp, so clever, manage to deceive us in the most extraordinary ways. Today, I want to talk to you about a particular deception, a subtle trick the human mind plays on itself. It's called the ultimate attribution error, a term that sounds grand, doesn't it? Like something final, something all-encompassing, something, well, ultimate. And in a way, it is. You see, this cognitive bias, this mental sleight of hand, explains so much about how we view others, especially when they don't belong to our tribe. Ah, yes, tribes, groups, teams, us versus them. It's been with us since the beginning of time. It's how we survived, how we navigated the dangers of the ancient world. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. The ultimate attribution error, now pay attention here, is the mind's way of interpreting the actions of those outside our tribe, those others, in ways that always seem to favor, well, us. Let me give you a story. Picture this. You're driving down the road, minding your own business, and suddenly another car cuts you off. It's reckless. It's infuriating. And in a flash of irritation, you think to yourself, what a terrible driver. That person is completely inconsiderate, reckless, probably an awful human being. But if you had cut someone off, well, that would be different, wouldn't it? You'd explain it away. Oh, I didn't see them. It was an honest mistake. I was distracted. I'm usually a good driver. You see, when it's us, when it's someone from our tribe, our group, our self, we explain away bad behavior. We find reasons, justifications, excuses. But when it's them, the other, suddenly it's a flaw in their character. Suddenly, it's who they are. And that, my dear friends, is the essence of the ultimate attribution error. When those from our group, our in-group, do something wrong, it's because of the situation, the context. When someone from the out-group does the same thing, it's because, well, they're fundamentally flawed, inferior, or simply bad. It's tribalism at its finest, and yet it's something we do almost automatically. Now, here's where it gets even more deliciously ironic. When someone from our group does something good, something praiseworthy, our minds swell with pride, don't they? Ah, yes. That's because we're good people. We're smart, kind, capable. We take credit for the success. But when someone from the out-group does something impressive, we brush it off. Oh, they got lucky, or that was just a one-time fluke. In short, when we fail, it's the environment. When they succeed, it's an accident, and round it goes. It's extraordinary, really, how this bias operates in every corner of life. Think about it. You see it in politics, don't you? When a politician from your side makes a mistake, you find a way to justify it. He was under pressure, or she didn't have all the information. But when a politician from the other side slips up, well, that's proof, isn't it? Proof that they're corrupt or foolish or downright malicious. But here's the thing. This bias, this ultimate attribution error, it's not just about politics. It's in our everyday lives. Think about how we judge other cultures, other nations. When someone from our country does something noble, we hold it up as evidence of our collective character. But when someone from another country performs an act of kindness, we shrug it off, saying, well, even they get it right sometimes. It's the same trick, over and over again. We elevate ourselves while diminishing them. But why, you ask? Why do we do this? Why do we cling so tightly to this illusion that our group is somehow more virtuous, more competent, more worthy? The answer, I suspect, lies in the most ancient parts of our brains. You see, we're tribal creatures at heart. Evolution has wired us to protect our group, to see ourselves as the heroes of the story and the others as potential threats. It was, once upon a time, a survival mechanism. To assume the worst of the unknown kept us alive in the wild. But here we are now. In a modern world where the stakes are no longer life or death, yet the wiring remains. The same mental patterns that helped us avoid predators in the dark now color our interactions with strangers, with those who don't look like us, don't speak like us, or don't share our beliefs. We are trapped in a maze of our own making, navigating the world with this bias steering the wheel. And the greatest tragedy of all? The ultimate attribution. Error blinds us to the simple truth that people, no matter where they come from, no matter what group they belong to, are as complex, as flawed, as capable of greatness or failure as we are. But this bias, it keeps us from seeing that. It keeps us locked in a prison of assumptions, of judgments, where we are always better than them. So what can we do about it? How do we fight this deeply ingrained tendency? Well, it starts with awareness. It starts with catching yourself in those moments when your mind leaps to judgment, when you find yourself thinking, that's just how they are. It starts with the radical act of seeing people not as members of a faceless group, but as individuals, each with their own story, their own complexity, their own humanity. Because, in the end, the world is not divided into good groups and bad groups. It's made up of individuals, and each of us, in our own way, is far more than the labels we wear. We are far more than the tribes we belong to. And perhaps, just perhaps, if we begin to see past the error, if we begin to question our assumptions, we might just find that the others we've been so quick to judge are not so different from ourselves after all. Ah, the remarkable mind of man, always so quick to build walls between us, but thankfully, just as capable of tearing them down.